is Kyra, and today we'll be discussing Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban by J.K. Rowling. Now, I know that a lot of people have already read this series and absolutely love the books, but I haven't had a chance to read it yet, and I've started last year on December, and I read the first two books during the month of December last year, and this is the first book that I read this year. It took me 4 days and I absolutely loved it. I think this is the best book out of the series so far, and it was really fun to read. I already watched the movies a couple of hundred times, I think, so I did know what was going to happen before it did most of the times, and that was kind of I don't know, I would have preferred to not know what was going to happen. But the movies and the books are quite different. There are some I was so sure that some stuff were going to happen and they didn't. And I had no idea that some stuff were going to happen in the book that actually did happen, because they weren't in the movies, so they were kind of different, and the different parts were really fun to read because I had absolutely no idea what was going to happen. And this book is the third book in the Harry Potter series, and I am hoping to finish this series as soon as possible because it's a very loved series, and I don't know what I can say without spoiling the book really, because it's basically this prisoner from Azkaban called Sirius Black has escaped, and it's Harry, Hermione and Ron trying to find him, and the year in Hogwarts basically. And that's all I can say without spoiling it. I think definitely go check this series out if you haven't read it already. I thought that I loved the books, I love the movies, and that was like enough, but the books are so much better than the movies, and I would definitely recommend this series. So if you haven't read it, go read it and then come and chat with us about your thoughts on this book. Bye for now if you haven't read it. Bye bye. Don't want to spoil you, so if you haven't read it, go. So I loved it at the beginning when Ron called the Dursleys' house and was like screaming at the phone like, "Hey, is Harry there?" And Mr. Dursley was like, "Who are you?" It was such an endearing moment. I loved it. Ron was just so funny, and I really enjoyed that scene. And it kind of showed how wizards are really not used to muggle stuff, and it was a nice scene at the beginning. It really cracked me up. And then we had Aunt Marge. I absolutely hated Aunt Marge, just like even before Aunt Marge came, when Harry was describing what she used to do the times that she came here before, that she came to Privet Drive before. She just seemed like such a mean person, and she was, and I really wish that she would have just exploded. That would have been a much more sufficing ending for the Aunt Marge part of the story. I don't know, I thought it was really mean of her to attack Harry's family, because you know that's kind of a sore spot for Harry since his parents died when he was just a baby, and to call Harry's parents the stuff he did, and to say that Harry had filthy bad blood because of his father, and how his father was like such a no good man. I just thought that was so mean of her, but she did start to, you know, swell up and start acting like a balloon, so that was fun. That was what she deserved. I remember that scene from the movie, and I was just like, whoa, what's happening to Aunt Marge? And it was, I think she really deserved that, to be honest. And what else have we got? So when Harry went with the night bus, and I thought that the night bus was a really weird thing. Like at first I was like, how come none of the Muggles see it? And then the man in the night bus was like, we go so fast and Muggles don't really pay attention all that much. So like, I don't know, what if a Muggle does pay attention and then or is like a wizard but doesn't know they're a wizard like Harry and sees the bus? Then what happens then? Is it like, does the Ministry of Magic come and like take away their memories or something? I'm not quite sure, but the night bus was very interesting. I thought that Harry would get caught for lying about his name and saying that he was Neville, and he didn't. I thought that might have been a really, you know, fun chapter where, you know, Neville was like, he used my name, my grandma's gonna kill me, or something like that, but that didn't happen. And then we had the Ministry of Magic, what was his name? Cornelius Fudge, like greeted Harry at the beginning of the like in front of the cauldron, and I thought that Harry was in such deep trouble, and he wasn't, because, you know, they were just trying to protect him from Sirius Black and everything. And, you know, I like that he had the last month of before school started to himself without the Dursleys. That must have been a really big relief for himself, for Harry. And then, you know, he just got to just go around the place and do his homework while eating sundaes, and that was fun to read about. I'm sure that Harry really enjoyed those parts of the book too, because, you know, he hates summer holidays just because of the Dursleys. And, you know, he loved it when Ron was around, and being alone and being in the wizardry world was also, I think, very interesting to Harry. So let's talk about the firebolts. When it first came, I was like, I was so sure that Sirius Black bought this, because who else would buy something so expensive and so valuable and not even like say not even like have a card saying like Merry Christmas or, you know, Happy Holidays and something like that. And it did turn out to be him. I thought for a while it might be Dumbledore, because, you know, he sent Harry the cloak, but even when he did send a card along with it. Maybe he didn't put his name, but there was a card at least. And so it was, I think, very obvious that Sirius Black bought the broom for Harry, and I thought that was a really good gesture from Sirius Black. Let's talk a bit about Mrs. Trelawney, the divination teacher. I hated Mrs. Trelawney. I really thought that she was such a fake, and Mrs. McGonagall, Professor McGonagall, I think agrees with me. I loved how, like, before he even used to be okay with Lockhart in Chamber of Secrets, because, you know, Lockhart was a colleague, and so she respected her colleagues. But I loved how she was like, so who is going to die this year? And the whole class was just like staring at the professor like, you know. And like he was like, Professor Trelawney does it every year where someone is going to die, and none of them died already. And then during the holidays when everyone leaves and the teachers and Harry and Ron and Hermione, they eat together in one table, Professor McGonagall's like, so you must have known what was going to happen. You know, you must have seen it, and, you know, just try to pin Mrs. Trelawney, and I thought that was really fun. I agree with Professor McGonagall though. I don't think divination is a very, is not all that accurate. You can't really guess the future 100%. And then I thought that she had like that one true thing that she actually saw was the, you know, with Peter Pettigrew coming, you know, where her voice changed and Harry was all scared, and Dumbledore said so, so that's a new thing. Mrs. Trelawney actually saw something for the first time, no, second time, and so I do think that she was not, you know, a true seer or whatever. And then we had Hogsmeade, and I felt so sorry for Harry for not being able to go to Hogsmeade at first. And then he was like, well, too bad if I can't go, because Fred and George Weasley came to the rescue and they gave him the Marauders map. And I love Fred and George Weasley. They're just such a comical relief, and, you know, I've loved them for the past 3 books. I think I will carry on loving them, and I loved how they helped out Harry and were like, Filch knows these 4 passages, these 2 are blocked, I will use the one, if I were you, I'd use this path to go to Hogsmeade. And then I loved how I loved it when they went to the Shrieking Shack and Draco and Crabbe and Goyle were coming too. So Harry put on his invisibility cloak and, you know, just started to throw snowballs and mud at Draco and his friends. That was just, oh, that was a good scene. I like that scene. And then how Draco saw Harry's head only and he was like, ah, and he started running the other way. That was really fun to read about. And then we had the Marauders map, like I mentioned before. Marauders map was really clever, I think. I'm not sure if it would come to play in the rest of the series. I do think that it will. And I loved at the end where Professor Lupin was like, since I'm not your professor anymore, I have no trouble giving you the map. You know, that was good. I was so scared that Snape was going to find out the map, what the map did, because in the movies Snape just goes, reveal yourself, and the whole map shows, but it didn't happen. No, in fact, like, you know, the map started talking to Snape, going like, Mrs. Mooney thinks that you should go around sticking your abnormally large nose around other people's business, and then, you know, they all started calling him like a git and all that, and that was really good. I really enjoyed that. And Professor Lupin came for the win. You know, he kind of rescued Harry from detention. I had no idea that Lupin, Sirius Black, Harry's father and Peter Pettigrew were the ones that, like, you know, created the Marauders map. That was a really interesting thing to learn about. I don't think that was part of the book, the movie. So I had no idea that was the case, and that was a very interesting thing for me to learn about. And then we had Professor Lupin. I loved Professor Lupin. Like, in the first book, the dark arts thing was, you know, like, no one really liked Professor Quirrell's, you know, stuttering and all that. And then in the second book, Lockhart was just, he was the new Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher, and he was insufferable. he was just such a... I don't even know what he was. He was just so annoying and frustrating, and I would be okay if he just, you know, stood out of everyone's way, but no, he acted like as if he knew everything, and, you know, always nearly got them killed. So that was kind of annoying. I loved it when Snape kicked his ass during the dueling club. That was good. And then Lockhart was like, oh, I could have totally, you know, beaten you, but I thought the kid should learn. And I was like, yeah, obviously you did. And finally, after 3 books, we had a proper Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher. Professor Lupin was just so fantastic. I loved how he helped Harry out with the Patronus charm and, you know, helped him in general. And even the nurse was like, finally a proper Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher, because, you know, Harry said that Professor Lupin gave him chocolate during the train ride after the Dementor came. And I think it was very obvious that he knew what he was talking about, and that he was a well-knowledged teacher. And so that was such a relief that Harry had Professor Lupin to help him out at times. And let's see what else. Lupin is a werewolf, by the way, and I thought that that was kind of obvious because, you know, Snape kept on talking about werewolves and animagi when he came to fill in for Professor Lupin. And it was always like, before the chapter started, it would be like, yesterday was full moon, and then Lupin would be gone the next day because he was ill. And Hermione kind of figured this out first, but she's Hermione, she's awesome. She obviously would have figured everything out before everyone, because she's wise and smart. And I love the rivalry between Lupin and Snape, because Lupin was just so amazing, and, you know, he would stand up for Snape at times, but he would also kind of beat him, in my opinion, because, you know, he would be like, I'm sure Professor Snape, that this, like with the map especially, I think Snape was really angry with Lupin for being like, oh, this is not dangerous at all, but I should have it anyway. I think Snape got really mad at that point. But I thought that, you know, I didn't like Snape anyways from the first two books, but in this book we kind of understand why Snape hates Harry so much, and we also understand why Snape hates Lupin so much. And it's not that he hates Harry because I honestly thought that he hated Harry because he was, you know, a part of Voldemort's crew when Voldemort was so strong, and I still do think that. I think that he is going to turn out to be on the dark side, and I don't know, it was just like so immature in my opinion to hold a grudge against a kid for what their father did to you during school. And I really thought it was very immature. I mean, I didn't understand it completely, but I could have understood why he hated Lupin so much, because, you know, he thought that Lupin and Sirius and Harry's father, James, was in for a prank to actually, you know, kill him. So I can kind of understand why he would hold a grudge against Lupin, but against Harry is just, I don't know, it just felt so, I was baffled. I was like, you kidding me? He like, it's not like Harry had anything to say during the prank. He wasn't born while his father was doing that prank, so it's not like Harry could have done anything. So I thought that was really immature of him to hold a grudge, and how he was about to help Peter Pettigrew and not listen to what Lupin was saying just because he held a grudge from a childhood prank. I thought that was, you know, at least let the man explain himself, like, honestly. And then we had Lupin and Black versus Peter Pettigrew. I wish Pettigrew died. I wish he died, but he didn't, and it's okay. Hopefully he will by the end of the series, and we'll catch him and, you know, give him to the Dementors or something like that. He had Buckbeak. Oh, Buckbeak. I loved Buckbeak. Buckbeak was so amazing. First off, he, you know, hurt Draco. That's enough for me to love Buckbeak. I was so mad at Draco for actually, I thought that Buckbeak was gonna die, and I didn't remember the third movie so well, so I didn't know what was gonna happen, but I was so happy that Albus Dumbledore was like, maybe you can save more than one life, and so they saved Buckbeak. Oh, I hope that Buckbeak comes into play by the end of the series. Maybe he can like help save Harry during some point in the series. That would be really cool. And I was so happy for Hagrid, because Hagrid was just so heartbroken because he loved Buckbeak so much. And, you know, Buckbeak's fine now. He's okay. And then we had Hermione and the Time Turner, and how Hermione's schedule was just so incredibly, it was impossible for her to actually have a schedule like that. And I thought that was a very clever thing, although I don't really think that Hermione was smart at in doing that, because, you know, you can love studying and you can love school. I love school, but to push it that much, it was so obvious that it was going to backfire, and it did at the end. And she was, you know, always studying, and, you know, she had a very tough time getting through all her classes, and she actually slept in at some point with Professor Flitwick's class. And I think it was a lesson learned for her, because before then she thought that she could handle all lessons, but I don't think that in the fourth book she will be doing, you know, she'll be attending classes with the Time Turner anymore. And I loved how she got mad at Draco and just, you know, slapped him. Oh, that was epic. That was amazing. And I was like, yes, Hermione, yes! And then we had Ron's new owl and Sirius Black. I loved how Sirius Black was like, would you like to come live with me? And you know, I know that you might want the Dursleys more because he didn't really know how the Dursleys acted towards Harry. But Harry was like, are you kidding me? No way am I going to stay with the Dursleys. Of course I can go stay with you. Who cares if you were in Azkaban? I know that you were okay and that you didn't actually try to kill my father. And you know, I like their bonding. I enjoy that. I thought it was really amazing at the end where the Patronus and the stag, that Harry was like, it wasn't my father that did the Patronus charm, it was me. And that, like, his confidence, just, he had a confidence boost because he knew that he was able to do it from before the time turner, and that was just really great. And you know, I was so happy that Harry was finally seeing how he was able to do those charms, and he was a very powerful wizard. I think that after this book he truly realized that he had talent and he had potential at, you know, with the wizardry, and that he was a good wizard. I loved how they won the Quidditch Cup. Finally, Wood was so mad after the first match where they were like, okay, let's hope that Hufflepuff, you know, gets beaten up so bad that it's just, with Ravenclaw, and then we can, you know, Wood, I felt so bad for Wood. And it was kind of obvious that they were going to win because, you know, it's a children's book, technically. I don't think you have to be a child to read this book. I think you can enjoy it at any time of your life. But, you know, it was so obvious that, you know, Harry was going to have a happy ending in terms of Quidditch because it was the one thing that was going for him instead of against him. And I was happy that, you know, he won the Quidditch Cup. That was, you know, that was a fun moment. And all in all, I really enjoyed this book. I will be starting Goblet of Fire soon. I'm planning on reading it next month because this month I have so much on my TBR pile. It's just so many books came out this month, and I'm wondering, like Passenger, for example, by Alexandra Brackens, and Truth Witch, and you know, just so many books. And I need to read The Fifth Wave before the 14th of January because the movie's coming out. So I'll be reading the 4th book next month, hopefully, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye for now.